Investment Institute estimate that between 25 and 43 million people could lose their employer-sponsored health insurance in the coming months due to the soaring unemployment rates from this coronavirus recession. More than half of newly jobless people are expected to obtain Medicaid coverage in states that have expanded the program under the Affordable Care Act. For everyone else, there's private health insurance. However, soon, even that may become more expensive than it already is. Analysts from California's state healthcare marketplace say they expect private health insurers to raise premiums by as much as 40% to recoup the costs of coronavirus testing and treatment. Other insurers across the nation will likely follow suit. Meanwhile, a new poll of registered voters shows that 69% of Americans now support Medicare for All, including 46% of Republicans. Jesse, what are your comments? You seem to be laughing about this.
Well, you know, maybe the pandemic has a positive outcome here, because I've always believed health care is a right. That if you're sick, you should have the right to go to a doctor. It's simple, especially allegedly we're the richest country in the world. How can you live in the richest country in the world and not be able to go see a doctor? What I find interesting, though, Brigitte, here's the good part. That's called socialism. Let's say it again. Socialism. Remember, that gets people to run to the wind. They scatter. They don't want anything to do with socialism. And yet now you notice they want socialized medicine because of the pandemic. They want the ability for government-run health care to now happen, including Republicans. My. What a change of heart we all of a sudden have. And we ought to tie it in, you know, so everyone isn't so frightened. Our biggest spending thing that we do as a government is on socialism. It's called the United States military. Completely socialism. So, you know what? Socialism isn't such a bad thing when taken in small doses, is it?
As long as it's for everybody. You know, there's a lot of socialism for the wealthy. So let's shift to the economy. This is the perfect conversation. American courts are expecting the largest surge ever in corporate and individual bankruptcies due to the COVID-19 recession. Large public companies will likely survive, but small businesses and individuals may not fare as well. Now, bankruptcy is a court proceeding in which a judge examines the assets and liabilities of a company or individual that can't pay their bills to determine whether those debts will be forgiven, restructured, or reduced. The process gives people and failing businesses an opportunity to start fresh, although a bankruptcy does remain on a credit report for 7 to 10 years, so it's going to affect your future ability to get credit. Still, it's supposed to be a safety net so creditors don't continue garnishing debtors' wages or filing lawsuits or liens against them. Now, historically, courts see a rise in bankruptcy cases when there's a rise in unemployment. As we're seeing now, in the last 6 weeks, at least 30 million people in the country have filed for unemployment. So the courts are expecting bankruptcy cases to rise accordingly. Now, we haven't seen the worst of the economic fallout from this virus yet, have we, Jesse?
I don't think so, Brigitte. You know, I don't have a magic ball to predict anything, but we better be very careful. You got the president now wants to resume and get the economy going as normal. You got some of the top scientists in the world who are saying you better be careful, because if you screw this up, it's going to be double as worse as it was. Can we afford that to happen? Shouldn't we bite the bullet maybe for another 30 days, you know, before we open up? Because I'll tell you what, if this thing rebounds, what's going to happen to the economy then, and what's going to happen to our health in this country? They're now predicting by August 147,000 people are going to be dead.
Some of the most common forms of bankruptcy are Chapter 7 and Chapter 11. Typically, individuals and small businesses file under Chapter 7 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code, while bigger public companies typically file under Chapter 11. Now, under Chapter 7, a company must stop all operations and go completely out of business, while a court-appointed trustee liquidates all the company's assets to pay off debts. When this happens, all employees lose their jobs. We'll likely see many Chapter 7 bankruptcies from small local businesses, including restaurants, fitness studios, hair salons, and retailers. But bigger public companies that have a larger revenue potential than liquidation value will likely file under Chapter 11 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. This allows the company to continue operating while debts and assets are restructured so the company can eventually pay creditors back and hopefully become profitable again. Now, prior to the pandemic, many airlines, including Delta, United, and American, were able to get out of bankruptcy in under 4 years due to this type of filing. Now, they're in hot water again, but I wanted to bring this up because you're going to see this difference. You know, you have corporate bailouts and socialism for big companies while everybody else is just out of luck.
Well, it's a situation that's tough right now. Let's look at you know what we ought to do? Shouldn't this be a place where the president leads? After all, our president has filed bankruptcy, I heard, about 9 to 12 times during his career. So he obviously knows how to do it. He knows the best way to do it. I think the president should lead on bankruptcy. He's the guy with probably the most experience we have in government in declaring bankruptcy. Now, how does Trump get away with going bankrupt? Well, rich guys like him form these little corporations. They can bankrupt a corporation and then just cast it aside. They lose all the debt from it, and they don't really lose their ability to still get money. They still get a credit. The big, large corporations do. The ones who are going to suffer, as you said, Brigida, are those little ones. The ones that Donald Trump isn't involved in. Those will be the ones that suffer. But I think we should turn to Donald Trump on this bankruptcy issue, because look at the experience he has. He's declared bankruptcy, I heard, between 9 and 12 times throughout his career. I'm not sure if that's true. Don't quote me, but I know he has declared bankruptcy before.